What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the latest edition of the 12th Horseshoe podcast here on Surge Sports TV. I am Jack Rizzo, joined alongside by Eli Weintraub. Eli, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing today, Jack?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just kind of, it's kind of the quiet time right now for the NFL.
Yeah,
Now that minicamp is over, we have about 5 weeks until training camp starts.
yep.
So
And
there's not really going to
preseason.
be too much over the next month. So sit back and relax because once training camp is starts, we're off on the go.
Yeah, we're ready to
um,
go.
so today on the podcast, we're pretty much just going to talk about the latest news in the NFL. There's not too much. So today's episode's probably gonna be a little shorter, but yeah. So before we start, though, I do want to give a shout out to Matthew Maxwell at Matty Ice 12, who had a contest on social media that I won. So I received a Shaquille Leonard autographed jersey, which I'm
Oh
super
wow,
pumped about. That's gonna get sent in the mail. So thank you, Matthew Maxwell.
good
I can
job,
add
Jack.
that to my Peyton Manning jersey, which is right next to me, not on camera, but
Yeah,
once again, thank you. Really appreciate it.
awesome job, Jack. And
Um,
yeah,
so today we're just going to talk about the latest news on the podcast. There's been a couple of things going on in the league. There's this stuff with the gambling policy. We have a couple of big free agents that are now out there. We have some injuries to talk about, some mini camp storylines, couple of other things. I think the biggest news, though, is the gambling policies. This has
yeah,
been an issue now for about the last year. It started last year with Calvin Ridley and getting suspended. And now this year we had several Detroit Lions get suspended around the draft time, a couple for 6 games, like the Jameson Williams, a couple for the whole season. And now one that hits close to home for me, Colts corner Isaiah Rodgers is being investigated by the league for possibly betting on his own team nonetheless. So if he's guilty, that would likely be a full year suspension, and his future is in doubt. So, Eli, what do you think about this gambling policy? And do you think the NFL needs to make more clear what the policy actually is?
yeah. I mean, Ian Rappaport reported yesterday on Twitter the NFL 6 key rules for all players, and I'm just going to read that real quick before I give my thoughts. He reported what the NFL says. Don't bet on the NFL. Don't gamble at your team's facility while traveling for a road game or staying at a team hotel. Don't have someone bet for you. Don't share team inside information, and don't enter a sports book during the NFL playing season. Don't play daily fantasy football. That was like some of the major like gambling policies. Now, do I stand for it? Absolutely, because you should not be betting on football, considering that you play for football. Now, other sports, I would say, yeah, you should be able to after season is done. So once February and after Super Bowl is over, then just feel free. And of course, then the finals will start for both NBA and hockey. Um, you have your horse racing to do. So you have a lot of stuff. So I agree that you should not be gambling during your NFL season, regardless of which sport it is. But I do believe that once the Super Bowl concludes, that the players should have the opportunity to gamble at their own willing. Obviously, now not saying that you should do it, but if that's what's going to make them happy, then go for it.
Yeah, it's definitely it's something that has happened a lot, and the Isaiah Rodgers incident, it's not going to be the last one. So
Yeah,
it's definitely a problem. I agree. I think betting outside of the NFL should be their own decision. Obviously, betting in the NFL, that kind of like ruins the integrity of the game. However, at the same time, I don't want to get too into this, but if you're going to suspend somebody like Deshaun Watson for what he did for 6 games, how are you going to suspend a player for gambling, which is a much less serious incident for an entire year? It makes
absolutely.
no sense, but I can't really argue it because I'm not an NFL official. So
Yeah. So, or are we a commissioner or anything of that nature? So, oh well. Um, guess just we're just gonna have to like just deal with it as
pretty
much
much.
as we, just like some of these ref calls, we can't always agree with it.
Just
It's their
don't gamble.
policy.
Don't
Don't
gamble.
gamble. That's the message. Don't gamble. That's the message.
Yeah, so that's I think that's definitely the biggest storyline. We'll see what happens with Isaiah Rodgers. Of course, Calvin really got suspended for an entire year. If Isaiah Rodgers is putting all these bets on his team, then I think that's probably that could even be longer. I don't think
Yeah.
it's going to be like a lifetime ban like what Pete Rose got for Major League Baseball, but I don't know. It's definitely going to be something that's going to be talked about for a while. Hopefully, it's
Hmm.
not too much of an issue going forward, but just got to deal with it. Just don't gamble, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean that's your storyline for the gambling, and obviously don't gamble, like you mentioned, and hopefully, again, if you gamble against your team, you shouldn't be allowed to play. That's the message.
Pretty much. I do think they need to make more they need to make more clear what their policies are. At the end of the day, though, just please don't gamble.
Yeah,
Don't hurt your
that,
team. Play for
that's the
the
message.
logo on the front, not the name on the back.
Correct.
Okay, so um some other news. We have some big free agents now that are out there on the market. Probably the biggest name, DeAndre Hopkins, released by the Cardinals. Cardinals are a mess right now. They have a new GM, a new head coach. They have, let's be honest, a toddler at quarterback. The way that they have pretty much no talent now. JJ Watt retired, AJ Green retired, DeAndre Hopkins is gone. So they're a mess right now. And I'm surprised they didn't trade DeAndre Hopkins to try to get something out of it. But it's going to be interesting to see where DeAndre is going to go. I've heard the Patriots have had interest in him.
Yeah.
That he visited with the Titans last week. The Chiefs, I think, have shown interest in him.
Yes.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
the
think
Ravens would have shown interest too, but they signed OBJ. They drafted Zay Flowers. So I don't think there's too many landing spots, but I think he could definitely make a big impact on the team that he signed with.
what I researched right before we went on air, DeAndre Hopkins, I think, was supposed to head to the Patriots training camp next week, from what I was not mistaken. Um, so obviously, if it is true that he does go to the Patriots, okay, the Patriots will then have an extra player that will definitely benefit them. But do I still believe that they're Super Bowl worthy or playoff worthy? No, absolutely not. Based off of how loaded that AFC team is, so wherever he goes, he'll benefit in the NFC with potential to go to the playoffs. If you go to the AFC, you got to go to a hot team, but one of these hot teams right now are not going to pick up for him. Patriots will have obviously the best chance at it. Based off of what I'm hearing, Patriots have the best chance of securing his deal, and apparently, from what they're saying, it's a two-team race to secure the deal.
It would definitely be awkward if DeAndre Hopkins went to the Patriots because their offensive coordinator is Bill O'Brien, the man who traded him away from the Texans for David Johnson and a second and fourth round pick. For at the time, he was probably like a top 5 receiver. So like he traded away from nothing. And the Texans really haven't been the same since then, to be honest. But I think I mean the Patriots already have Juju Smith Schuster. They do have like a lot of receivers, but I don't know if they have that true number 1 receiver. So I think Drake will let Tennessee pay all that money. Remember Julio, D-Hop is better, but he's post 30, and that is generally when the decline happens. He's a better fit for New England, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree, Drake. So for those of you guys who don't know, Drake he's from Sports Illustrated. He works for the Colts. He's the busiest man in Colts media. That's what we call him. He writes really good articles, and he definitely is really good at putting out information for the Colts. And yes, I do remember when the Titans traded for Julio Jones in 2021. That was definitely a waste. It was a disaster. And honestly, it doesn't make sense for them to sign DeAndre Hopkins. I'm surprised they haven't even started a rebuild by then. They're old. They just wasted money on Bud Dupree. They don't have any receivers. Their defense is probably the strong suit, but not great. I don't think this is Mike Vrabel's fault. I think Mike Vrabel is a really good head coach, and I think if Tennessee starts to rebuild, they shouldn't get rid of him. But I definitely don't think DeAndre Hopkins is a good fit. I think Tennessee should be more so rebuilding because if they sign DeAndre Hopkins, that's more so saying they want to go for it, and they just don't have the pieces to do that. Not especially with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback.
Absolutely, and it's a waiting game. Obviously, it's just, yeah, it's a waiting game. We don't know where they're gonna go. We don't know how it's gonna benefit. I mean, all we could say is good luck.
Yeah. Well, for one, I know the Colts aren't signing him, and I know the Seahawks aren't signing him.
Yes,
The
no.
Seahawks are Eli, you should be excited. The Seahawks probably have the best trio of actually the Bengals probably do, but at least the best young receiving trio in the league with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited. I'm pumped, ready for it. I mean, we know Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. They're capable of catching really far, incredible shots. And we noticed both with Geno Smith and Russell Wilson when he was still considered a Seahawk. And so now, obviously, it's just now how well are they going to benefit this year? And I'm super excited. They've what I've heard and what I've heard and what I've seen so far. They're ready to go, and I can't wait for the season. And with Geno Smith now under a year played as head quarterback, now entering his second year, the Seahawks should be more comfortable and more ready, and possibly we're going to go further than the wild card round, and we are making the playoffs this year, just to let everybody know.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think you guys – the NFC is a lot weaker than the AFC is, so I think the Seahawks definitely have a chance. Also, not just DeAndre Hopkins, but Dalvin Cook.
Absolutely.
He got released by the Vikings in a salary cap move. I've always thought Dalvin Cook is a really underrated running back. I thought he was underutilized in Minnesota. But again, this is something I want to talk about, the value of running backs. This is something we're seeing a lot. Jonathan Taylor for the Colts spoke on this last week. Saquon Barkley, this has been a big storyline for him all offseason. The running back market value is not as high as it once was, and teams don't want to pay running backs as much because they're the most replaceable position in the league. I think we can all agree on that. I mean, look at like Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Devontae Freeman, Ezekiel Elliott. They all got big contracts, and they were all gone within like 2 years. So paying running backs are just really not worth it. And I think I'm surprised Dalvin Cook is still out there because he definitely can still make an impact. Like the Dolphins, I think he'd be a good fit there. Maybe the Lions, but I'm not sure. Like I think he definitely can still make an impact. Maybe not like be like the workload of an offense, but at least be like a nice secondary piece and a nice security because he's a good pass catcher too out of the backfield. So Dalvin Cook still have value for a team, but teams just don't value running backs as much as they once did.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, they're not really benefiting too much from it, but he did play Dalvin Cook 6 seasons with Minnesota. He did a great job. Obviously, it's disappointing to see him go. But again, like you said, one of those AFC teams could catch and take him. And like you said, if the Dolphins do, that'll really help Dolphins out and give them even a better chance to continue on during the regular run in the season.
No, this is one you like. You like Kenneth Walker is a beast. That man is just a ruthless runner. He sure is.
Absolutely.
I don't know though because the Seahawks drafted a running back. I forgot what his name was, but they drafted a running back.
Over.
Seahawks over definitely.
Over.
I mean, playing the Cardinals and the Rams twice a year, that pretty much guarantees you 4 wins right there. I think they could find 6 other wins out there. We're going to the Seahawks-Giants Monday Night Football game in week 4.
Yes, we are.
That should be fun. Speaking of the Giants, I actually got to meet Jalen Hyatt last weekend at an event at MetLife.
Yeah.
Super chill guy. Talked to him about his game at Alabama last year where he had 5 touchdowns. Maybe one of the best games, maybe the best college football game I've ever seen before. So rooting for him. And it should be a good game. 2 teams in the NFC that I think are both going to make the playoffs like they did last year. They're both surprises, but I think this year they're going to take that step forward and can maybe make a run in the playoffs.
Absolutely. And huge player. And you're beating all these guys. Like, great job, Jack. I don't know how you get him, but great work.
Thanks, Eli. I'm not really trying to. It's just in my head. Speaking of Kenneth Walker, though, I don't think he's going to have as great of a season this year as he did last year. Not because he's bad, but because the Seahawks have a lot of running backs. They drafted one in like the 3rd round of the draft this year, which was questionable. Yeah. They have, I think they still have Rashad Penny, right, Eli? They still have Rashad
yes.
Penny? Yeah, so he might not get as much of a workload. He'll still be the number 1 for sure, but I don't know if he's going to have like 1,000 yards like he did last year. Mm-hmm. But only time will tell. We'll just have to see.
Absolutely. All right, we'll head now to our next topic. One of the huge. Oh, hey, Bobby.
Fellas?
Oh,
so
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey, hang on, Eli. I just have to get off real quick because I have to plug this in before it dies. So just carry on with the show. I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
All right.
Well, Rashad Penny is on the Eagles, by the way.
Oh.
All right. I think I'm here behind the scenes. Yeah, I just want to let you know that Rashad Penny is on the Eagles.
All right. Thanks for letting me know. So busy lately. So.
No problem.
Yeah.
And also, you guys were mentioning Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is a difference maker. Any team he signs to is gonna catapult in the odds to win the Super Bowl or whatnot, or or over under wins. Mm-hmm. I believe he's waiting and holding out for $10 million a year. So he has time, because as you all know, it's inevitable that someone gets hurt, especially running backs in the postseason and preseason and whatnot. I'm not sure if you guys even mentioned it, but even one of the Jets players got hurt yesterday.
Yeah. What's his name?
Clark.
Jeff Clark. Yep. I saw it this morning that he was out for the season. Yep. Ian Rappaport reported. Yep. Absolutely.
And Dalvin Cook, I mean, Zeke Elliott, yeah, he's waiting for a backup position somewhere. But Dalvin Cook is somebody who is going to
improve and
wait for that final spot and go from there.
Absolutely agree.
I'll hang out with you until Jack is back.
All right. In the meantime, the Jaguars are possibly looking into Daytona Stadium, or the racetrack, for a potential home for this upcoming season, as they repair TIAA Bank Stadium, which is the current Jaguars' home. They have two international games this season in London. So obviously a lot to look there. With Daytona, do I think that's a great place? If it's going to give them a win, sure. I know they were also looking for Florida University as another location as well. So they'll have to wait and see if it's going to give them a win. Play any day in Daytona. It's just going to be different.
I think, as you mentioned, I think you'll see the Jaguars playing a lot more in Europe.
Absolutely.
Until the stadium is completed, because their owner is British, and they do have a big following in England, being that's the one team that always seems to go there a lot.
And I asked this with Jack last week. Do you think they're going to possibly permanently move to London eventually?
I don't know. I mean, it depends if they're. I mean, they got a good young core right now. Matter of fact, I even believe Pete Prisco's CBSSports.com top 100 players for the year predictions had the quarterback at number 10 or something, or top 20, which is really high for him. I wasn't a big fan of whatever his name is. It's escaped my mind, but you know what? He has a good cast behind him now. Calvin Ridley's there now as your number one wide receiver with that running back. So I guess it all depends if they grow their fan base. I think that's one of the cheapest places to watch a game or go to a game, because they're almost never sold out on a home game. And if they can grow their fan base with this young team and start winning some games, there's Jack. And we'll go from there.
Hey guys, sorry, and just had
they're going to definitely they're definitely going to go far. Definitely next year. I mean, they did a phenomenal run this year. Obviously, they had to play the Chiefs. The Chiefs had obviously destroyed them, but they had chances though. And Jaguars are a rebuilding team. They're doing a great job, and we don't be surprised. They're competing for that conference spot, and they well deserve it. And it'll be a good run in the AFC to see. And of course, as we mentioned, AFC is loaded this year. No matter which team you're looking at, they're loaded. They're ready. So it's really going to be a fighting battle game for that entire AFC, and especially for the Jaguars, who had a phenomenal run last year.
And don't forget, sorry, Jack, the Colts are going to rebuild this year.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right.
Between them and
though, I think we could at least win like 8 or 9 games, but I'm not. I don't.
You could surprise. It all depends on your quarterback. But you got yourselves, you got the Texans who are rebuilding, and you got Tennessee, who's no one knows, like you mentioned before, no one knows what they have. So
I said that before. Like I told them, it doesn't make sense why they're trying to go after DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, because they have the worst receiving core in football. That's why. But I think Hopkins at this stage of the game goes to
New England. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's what they're
saying. All right, guys, I'm going to hop off. There's some basketball news coming, so I'll be behind the scenes.
All right.
Let me know.
To go back to the Jags are actually never mind. I was going to say, because the Jags are actually contracted to play in London every year.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
sorry about the brief delay, guys. Just had to plug in my device.
All right.
We don't want to
And
lose
another
you down
news,
there.
the Bills have promoted Eric Washington to assistant head coach from defensive line. That was announced yesterday.
I
Obviously,
saw
it'll be
that. Yeah.
huge help, and we'll see how well the Bills can benefit from it. And the other major news from the Bills was Stephon Diggs. He missed opening practice last week. It was huge news that made all over the NFL. Obviously, we now know that it was excused absence. But what are your thoughts on that, Jack? About Stephon Diggs? Do you think he's comfortable? I mean, he's only in year 2 of his $96 million extension. Yeah,
This has been something that has happened to Stephon Diggs before. He's always been a guy who shows frustration. We saw this a lot in Minnesota. Honestly, I can't believe he was there for that long before he got traded. The guy wants
absolutely.
to win, and he makes that clear. And he also wants to be featured in the offense. He feels like he's not being targeted enough in the offense. And I can understand why. They were destroyed in that divisional round game against Cincinnati. They got nothing going.
Absolutely.
And that 17-point margin, it honestly doesn't do justice. They played like they lost by like 35. So I understand his frustration. I don't think he should be like holding out of minicamp like that. Like I think he should just like stay humble and just come back at it next year. The Bills are pretty much of the same core as last year, so they pretty much have a good chance of winning again. I don't, but it's not me, and that's the Bills' problem, not mine. So
Absolutely. And apparently the situations were resolved, and he has worked well with upcoming practices and updates and more. We mentioned about Daytona. One last thing before I forget. I think it was Seahawks. Yes, Seahawks. Pete Carroll said 2 weeks ago that Jamal Adams we'll see, he said, on if he'll be ready to play. He is in year 3 of his contract. He is absolutely crucial for the team. He did face injury. In my opinion, he's a key player, and I hope he comes back. And obviously, from what Pete Carroll said, we'll see. It's definitely interesting, and I hope he's back because he's crucial for this Seahawks team.
yes, I haven't heard a lot about Jamal Adams over the last few years, but I agree. A couple of other OTA news, going back to the Stephon Diggs thing, or the Bills thing, I should say. We talked about the Jags before. The Bills are also working on getting a new stadium. I
Yep.
think, are already working on building a new stadium there in Buffalo, which is important because the stadium they have is kind of outdated. The game experience is fantastic. Bills fans might be the best in the NFL.
Yeah, but you know what I don't understand? They still haven't built a roof. From what
The new stadium's going to have a roof.
because I thought I saw the image in the graphic. It said that they weren't going to have a roof. It was just like an open stadium again. I could be wrong.
Say within the next like 20 years or so, every single stadium in the NFL is going to be like a retractable roof because it just makes sense.
Absolutely.
Maybe except for maybe like Arrowhead or Lambeau because obviously like the historical value.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I
MetLife,
feel like
because where
every
can they
stadium
build it
might be
here? I
indoor
mean, I don't see
by like 2040.
And the Lions, switching off topic, Lions, they reveal a new helmet logo for this coming season. I'm putting up the graphic right now. Do you think they're going to win with this helmet? How well do you think? How do you like it? What are your thoughts on it?
The Lions are going to win regardless. I am super high on the Lions this year. They're my pick to win the NFC North. I think they could really make a run this year. I think it all starts with Dan Campbell as their head coach. I think he's a fantastic coach. He's a motivator. I think Jared Goff gets too much hate. I think that if the Lions can win games and they can like win a Super Bowl, that Matthew Stafford trade is going to be the best one of all time. That could be like the best win-win trade of all time if the Lions can get a Super Bowl out of it. So I'm high on the Lions. If the Colts don't win the Super Bowl this year, that's who I'm rooting for to win the Super Bowl. And the Lions are wearing it for their, I know this off the top of my head. They're wearing it for their Week 8 Monday Night Football game against the Raiders and their Week 18 game against the Bears or the Packers.
Oh, wow. So that's going to be beneficial. In other news, Patriots owner Robert Kraft is very confident that New England Patriots can win the most difficult division in the NFL. So he thinks that that's going to be a difficult division. What are your thoughts?
It is going to be a difficult division. I'm not going to be too high on the Jets yet because I mean, we saw with the Browns in 2019 and the Broncos last year.
Absolutely.
No matter what the hype is, you haven't proven anything until you actually win games. So
Absolutely
once the
agree.
Jets start winning games, then I'll take them seriously. The Bills are one of the best teams in the league. We know that. The Dolphins as well. If Tua can stay healthy, Tua has to stay healthy because he had like what 3 or 4 concussions last year.
Yes, he did. And
I
comment from Drake Wally again.
I
Yeah,
agree. Yeah, I
really,
agree.
Goff is really underrated. His combination with Campbell seems to be what he needed and looked very good.
Just watch Dan Campbell's post game speeches. That's all you need to know about the culture that they're building there in Detroit. It really is special. Like I would play my heart out for Dan Campbell, and I'm being serious.
Absolutely agree. The other news, this was actually pretty recent as of yesterday. Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill under investigation for an allegation of assault and battery. This happened yesterday, so obviously this was still trending. This came out obviously yesterday. Apparently, this was announced on Tuesday. And what the NFL says, we are aware of the situation and have been in contact with Tyreek and his representatives and the NFL. The Dolphins said in the statement, we'll reserve further comment at this time. So
I don't really want to get too much into that because it's like an ongoing case. So I think we should just like move on and go and talk about. Is there any? I don't really know, Eli. There's not really much else that.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk? Hey, for the first time, do you want to talk about any other sports like the NHL, the Stanley Cup Finals, the NBA Finals?
Sure. So we'll start with hockey, I guess. Actually, we'll start with basketball. We'll go basketball first. Tonight's the NBA draft. Which is happening in Barclays Center rather.
I'm not watching it. Sorry.
Yeah, me neither. Maybe just a little bit. I don't know. We'll see.
I forgot what the name is, but there's somebody who's obviously gonna. I think it's like Victor Wemba.
Yep.
Wembanyama. I don't know. Yep. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the name. But hey, congrats to the Nuggets for winning their first championship. I actually did watch the NBA Finals. I was rooting for them.
Absolutely.
So congrats to the Nuggets. Football only. I know, Logan, but it's just filling in time.
Yes, we got to fill in time.
I don't have any other news except here. If you want me to bring one more thing in, Chris Paul to Golden State, I do not care. I'm sorry. I don't care enough about that. I really only care about the finals. Like they could form all these super teams, but they never do anything except for like the Warriors.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, huge for Denver win, and this is the second win for Denver. For the Denver organization, for the Denver area, rather. Last year, Colorado Avalanche for hockey won. Now this year was Denver Nuggets.
Let's talk about Stan Kroenke, the owner. He owns the Avalanche, the Denver Nuggets, and the Los Angeles Rams. So he's got to celebrate 3 championships in the last year and a half. So good for him.
Absolutely. And let's move to hockey. As Stanley Cup champions, the Vegas Golden Knights. Bobby, you were at the parade last week. What were you? How was it? We'll be back.
What TV comes back on? Oh,
I didn't make the parade because I was stuck on the outskirts. There was so many people there.
Yeah, I figured that.
But I was watching it on TV, and I got my championship hat.
Oh, good.
So it was fun. I got some pictures. But yeah, it was definitely like a fun event. It was just too packed, and they closed down the strip way early for traffic, so we were kind of left behind. Yeah, it was still fun. It was still fun. But real quick, guys, before I head off, CBS Sports, which I read every day, future NHL power rankings have Devils, I think, number 4.
And yes, in the preseason. Oh, come on, Jack.
I think Rangers were 10. Relax.
I'm a Rangers fan, not a Devils fan.
All right, well, to get on the positive side, congratulations, Vegas Golden Knights. And yes, the Devils have some the New Jersey Devils, rather, because it's my team. We'll get to the Rangers in a second. They made some huge trades in the last week. They said Timo Meyer is interested for a second year rather, in a new contract. So I'm super excited about that. They gave, I believe, Severson went to the Blue Jackets. And Jesper Bratt received another good 8-year contract, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So good for the Devils. Super excited. And the preseason schedule for the NHL was announced yesterday. I think we see the Rangers in September. So, and the Rangers have a new head coach.
Yes.
They might have a chance.
Thank God.
I think they will. And Henrik Lundqvist made the Hall of Fame yesterday.
Best goalie to never win a Stanley Cup. That's for
Meanwhile,
sure.
I think I put it on the Twitter yesterday. It was Gottlieb and Elias still missed making the draft. Not draft, the Hall of Fame. So
Yeah.
still interesting to see. And yeah.
Anything else, Eli? Is there any other NFL? How about we're not going to do predictions, but just like an MVP prediction? Like, who do you think's going to win the
MVP prediction?
Early prediction.
I have a feeling it's going to be Mahomes again, but I don't want to say Mahomes because I'm not. If I have to say anybody but Mahomes, I don't know. I feel like someone from Seattle might stand out this year. I think
Of
maybe
course.
Geno Smith might have a chance. Absolutely.
Say that.
Yeah, I had to throw that in there.
I'm a Colts fan, but you know what? I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence as my early MVP.
Absolutely. You know, I was thinking about that too because he's definitely shown a lot last year.
Sorry, my Colts family.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Jaguars, obviously, it's a good pick. I mean, the Jaguars are rebuilding. They did a phenomenal job last year, and they're going to be one of those teams that are fighting for that last remaining spot. So super excited and can't wait for that. And yeah, Jack.
It's pretty much going to do it.
Oh, wait, one more news. I forgot one more.
Go ahead.
Former Steelers linebacker Clark Haggins dies at the age of 46. I don't think we mentioned that.
Yeah, we didn't. I'm glad you mentioned that. Well, glad that he died, but glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah, he died at the age of 46. The condition was not known quite yet at the time. He played for the Pittsburgh Steelers as well as the Arizona Cardinals, and he won a Super Bowl as well. He also had he was a linebacker, so truly gonna be missed. And Jackie, discuss a little bit.
Yeah, so he won Super Bowl 40 in 06 with the Steelers. Of course, that Super Bowl is most well remembered for the awful officiating in that game. Oh, take that jersey. Oh yeah, because it was against the Seahawks. That's why. Super Bowl 40. Well, yeah, that was probably the worst Super Bowl of all time because of like the officiating. It was also Jerome Bettis' final game, and it was in Detroit where he's from. So,
and Clark Haggins has retired before all this happened, so obviously, thoughts and prayers to the family, and
yeah, RAP. We're losing all these athletes way too young, man.
Absolutely,
it's really unfortunate.
And Drake Wally says Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, just that you just those two words. That's kidding. Yes, it is. Just put AR. That's fine. He's gonna win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and he's gonna lead us to a Super Bowl championship.
Absolutely.
And on that note, okay, Eli, thank you. Even a Seahawks fan is acknowledging that. All right, so I don't really think we have much else to talk about. It was just kind of going to be like a recap of the news today. So
we'll get into predictions.
We're disappointed in what we had to bring, but this is what we got for now.
We'll have predictions next week, hopefully. And
I think we should wait till like the week before to do predictions.
All right,
I'm sure we can find something else to do. Maybe you know what? I'll hold like a Q&A on social media and ask the people what we should talk about next week.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. We'll see you within the next few weeks for the next episode. And then once the season starts, we'll be seeing you guys much more frequently. We have a lot coming for when the season starts.
And we're ready for
Elijah Weintraub. I'm Jack Rizzo saying so long from the 12th Horseshoe podcast. We'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.